I had a motion to approve by Councilman Cole. Is there a second by Collins Lewis? Councilman Watson.
Okay. I realize that we've got a disparity in the amount of fresh food that's available in North Baton Rouge, and when Together Baton Rouge had a meeting prior to the election where members of the folks that were running for District 7 and District 11 were asked if they liked the New Orleans Fresh Food Retailers Initiative in New Orleans. I try to do my due diligence as best as I can, and in some of the stipulations of the Fresh Food Retailers Initiative in New Orleans, it made a stipulation that 51% of the gross receipts from a recipient of the grant would have to have those receipts reflective of fresh food being sold, which is the 49% being non-food items. Now, I do realize that some of these non-food items, be it laundry detergent, paper plates, cups, things of that nature, are non-food items, and that's fine. I will make a motion that this be approved. However, I would make a stipulation that when the contracts are brought before council, that none would allow monies to go to a retailer that would allow more than 20% revenue to be garnered from alcohol or tobacco sales.
Okay, that had to be a substitute motion. Leanne, that is a proper motion.
Leanne, if you could.
I just think they got council members just asking a question.
This is just the appropriation, and any incentive contract will have to come back to the council, but you can attach a stipulation to an appropriation, but the money will be appropriated.
That's what I'm attempting to do. Is this the appropriate means to put that stipulation?
You can put the stipulate, but when it comes back to the council, this is just a majority vote.
Certainly.
So when it comes back to, you'll have to adopt the same provision in the contract when it comes back to the council to actually spend the money.
Okay.
When it comes with the contract, then you can make your motion.
Certainly.
To do that.
Well, let me put it out there. Don't bring a contract before me that allows people to make more than 20% of their revenue from alcohol and tobacco. Thank you.
Okay. You had a motion, a substitute motion, withdrawing that motion?
If it's an inappropriate time to make that motion, then yes, I withdraw it.
Okay. Councilman Watson withdraws his substitute motion. Councilwoman Freiberg.
Yeah, I agree that would be a good thing, only I would want to know how you track that easily without putting a burden on whatever grocery store comes in to be tracking that information for us. And we could figure that out before the contract comes back, because I think all of these items that we're looking at today, I certainly support. I was on that trip to New Orleans and saw what was happening with Robert's and with Whole Foods, and I saw those stores, and I know that they were doing what they said they were going to do, and so I would certainly support that. And the truce funds certainly would be good for us to support, since we've had so many private donors here in town give to that. We would only be giving a small portion compared to what some of our fellow citizens in this city have already given. So I certainly support this amended budget.
Councilman Hudson.
I guess somebody from the mayor's office. I have a couple of questions. Daryl, do we know what the 2019 allocation for grocery gap funding will be? What do we, when y'all prepare the 2019 budget, what are y'all going to ask us for?
The 250 is actually a 3-year commitment, so it would be 18. It would go for 3 years.
250
forward.
for 3 years.
And the concept is that it's going to take a number of years to get these things in place, because it's not just one. It won't just be one outlet. The whole concept is trying to end the food deserts throughout the parish.
I'll just say, folks, I still have trouble with the grocery gap funding part of it. I worry about it being a role, a necessary role of the government. I also worry about leaving the taxpayer on the hook for those funds as it pertains to incentivizing grocery stores. It's a whole new ball game for me. I do think that there are some incentives that we can provide as far as tax abatements and that kind of thing that are within the realm of what a municipality would normally do. But it worries me. And then, Matt, to your point on the caps, I don't know if anybody's talked to the grocery stores about that yet. It sounds like a good idea. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't know that anybody's actually checked with the grocery stores to make sure that that's not going to be another cumbersome item for, incentivizing them to come in. So I'll make a substitute motion that we approve everything with the exception of the grocery gap funding.
Substitute motion to approve all items except for the grocery gap items. Is there a second? Seeing none, dies for lack of second.
Hi, my name is Kathy Solo. I'm Vice President of Community and Economic Development for Hope Enterprise Corporation, Hope Credit Union.
Yes, ma'am. So I was thinking in terms of the recommendation made by Councilman Watts with the 20% cap as it relates to alcohol. For the most part, what we found, and I represent Scotlandville, which has the largest food desert in East Baton Rouge Parish, but by the same token, I would not want a surplus of alcohol and even cigarettes as part of the revenue, because that is an oxymoron when we say we're doing fresh food and vegetables and then we give people, have a overconsumption. However, I wanted to know, based on your experience, whether or not that would be a hindrance in recruiting grocery stores to the area.
That we don't really track that, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. So, and I have monitored the regulations and actually have been the administrator for the program in New Orleans, and we have also rolled this program out throughout other states from other funding sources that Hope has received. So we actually monitor the percentage of all sales, what percentage are fresh fruits and produce. We don't monitor the percentage of alcohol. Mm-hmm. So I honestly do not have any statistics on that. And to my knowledge, that is not a part of the program. And we've been audited, by this program and other programs, and that has not been anything that we have monitored or kept any data on.
What's the average percentage for the Whole Foods in either in New Orleans?
Just across the board, a general average is about 20% of their total sales are fresh fruits and produce.
Is that acceptable based on the program goals?
Yes, considering all of the other items that they can purchase. And another part of the program is that the grocery stores have to maintain 17 linear square feet of fresh fruit and produce. Okay. And the programs that we currently have going, those programs are monitored, and there is an on-site visit that's done every month to ensure that they are in compliance with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to commend the administration on this initiative, because a lot of these things are things that we've been talking about and are needed. And I just want to make a couple of comments about the food desert initiative. And I did attend the New Orleans trip, and I do believe that part of our function of government is to take care of the health, the safety, and the welfare of our citizens. And grocery store and access to fresh food and all of that is something that's critical to the health, the safety, and the welfare of our citizens. And we recognize and know. I had a little bit of too much free time one day and decided to get on Facebook and walk everybody through sort of what it was like waking up in my area, in my neighborhood, as it relates to the lack of grocery stores, or simply trying to find some bread and some butter. But this is a significant issue, even with Mathern's being located downtown, which, I love and is very great. I still live 1.6 miles away from a grocery store, and in the definition, I still live in a food desert. I think one of the issues that came up as it relates to the alcohol, there's a misnomer, and a lot of times y'all will get the applications that will come in and it'll say XYZ Southside grocery store or whatever. And so people in urban communities are like, okay, great, we got a grocery store. And when you look at it and it comes up, it's really nothing but a glorified liquor store. And so people are assuming that they can have these outlets open up and go in and buy fresh food and groceries, and literally they have the only one loaf of bread they have is in the back, and everything else in the front is filled with just liquor. So that is a huge problem. Many years ago, several of us on this council asked for a moratorium on the sale of alcohol in urban communities because of the fact that we recognize that there was a direct disparity between the economics of that community, the value of that community, property values, and oversaturation of alcohol outlets. So we recognize also, and we kind of fell short at a point, we were able to establish a list of ideas of what we wanted those grocery stores to look like, but at the same time, there needed to be a rezoning. There should be something rezoned so that you go in and you know you're in a liquor store versus if you're going in and you're in a grocery store. So one of the things that I would ask Hope, and I know you said that that was not necessarily part of y'all's function, but that is definitely an issue that we deal with on a daily basis in Baton Rouge, where we have individuals that come into our communities, open up stores, and we still cannot go in and buy anything that's of value. They're taking the butter and breaking it up and selling it individually. They take diapers and break it up, and it's ridiculous the kind of things that's going on and what people are dealing with in urban communities as it relates to just having access to quality food. Yes, ma'am, please. Another thing that I want to say is about the CDBG, is Community Development Block Grant, Dwight. But one of the things that I would like to say, I think it is a really good use of those dollars. At one point in time in our community, that department was called Housing and Economic Development. So it was supposed to go hand in hand, where not only you dealt and you utilized those dollars for housing, but you also were actually able to use them for economic development. And so now it's just the community and economic development, but ours is just community development, and economic was dropped off of there. And now the department is not even there any longer. So I do think that that's a great use of those dollars, and we should put those in place to be able to make sure that those dollars are used for not just housing, but also economic development. But I do want to give you an opportunity to say something real quick. Yes, ma'am.
Sure. So I think when you put in place the fact that 17 linear square feet of the facility has to be dedicated to fresh fruit and produce, and remember, a part of this program is it's a two-part process. So there's an eligibility piece, and Hope's process so far has been to work with a nonprofit organization that does that market study, that looks at whether it's a food desert, that looks at where the nearest grocery stores are and what those grocery stores sell. And, we are a total part of the plan. So that plan has to show, because the whole mission of this is to put affordable, healthy options into the community. That is the core mission of all of this.
Thank you. And I think the operative word there was healthy, because a lot of times you drive through the neighborhoods, and if you look at I won't call anybody's name, but XYZ grocery store, you think it's a grocery store until you walk in and you realize, oh my God, there's no groceries there at all.
So if this program is established, there will be an eligibility piece before we even look at financials and affordability and putting funds into it. They would have to pass this eligibility piece, and there is a compliance piece that happens, and then there's more compliance if there's CDBG dollars that's attached.
Scott, I'm going to need a little bit extra time, and thank you, and I just would like for that component, as much as possible, we love to work with y'all, if that can be considered, because we do need to deal with that issue as well as we're adding additional grocery stores into our community. I do believe that doing this, Dwight, in this way allows for us to spur economic growth and development in the urban communities, because I've seen, as a young community organizer back in the early 90s, forming community development corporations, that we visited the south side of Chicago. And so in a lot of those urban communities, you have to have these kinds of programs subsidized and layered amounts of financing available just to at least get an opportunity to spur economic development. So once it's done, it really serves as an anchor to build upon, to allow for others to say, hey, there's some investment going on in this community. There are people that really not only need it, but actually will utilize that service. And you'll see that transcend over and over. We saw it in the south side of Chicago. We also saw it in Harlem, New York, where they did creative ways of financing these kinds of initiatives, and as a result, it transformed those communities. So it does actually work. Thank you so much.
I know we had a motion by Cole and second by Collins Lewis. Are there any to approve. Are there any objections? Seeing none, item 82 is approved.